Right, good afternoon and welcome to the FaB Networking Marketing webinar. Thank you so much to our panellists today. So we have Kelly Maine, who has the website seat in our Hinckley group. We have Gus, who has the social media seat in our Coventry group. We have Fritha, who has the social media seat in our Tamworth group. We have Inzar, Inzar, who has the website and digital marketing seat in our Leicester group. We have Simon, who is our graphic designer in our Coventry group. We have Monica, who is a marketing expert and has the marketing seat in our Nuneaton group. We have Graham. Hi, Graham.
Hi.
And Graham has the website seat in our Rugby group. And then we have Andy, who has the website seat in our Tamworth and Nuneaton group. Welcome all.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Right, okay then. So the idea of this was to help our members see a way through with what they should be doing with their marketing online and offline at the moment, and how they can be prepared for when all of this is over and we're getting some sort of normality back. So what we thought we would do is I've prepared some questions for the panelists so that we can get this going, but any of our attendees, if you can put questions in the chat as we go along, and then we'll answer them as we get there. So I think, shall we start with the social media people, I think. Is that all right? So who should we, Gus, you're on the top line there. So Gus, I sent you a question. So can you please, if you could just explain to us, hang on, the importance of keeping a strong social media presence during this time?
Sure. Everybody can hear me?
Yes.
Good. Good afternoon, everyone. So to answer that question very quickly, there's two sides to having a strong social media presence. There's obviously the promotional side, but the technical side. So very quickly on the technical side, it's all about algorithms. Nobody really understands algorithms, but what we do know is that if you post regularly, it means that you get lots of engagement, lots of people kind of see your stuff, you get to have conversations, and you get to be social and you know, engage with all people around you, etc. If you stop doing that during this time, unfortunately what happens is your algorithms kind of fall off a cliff. So, and then it takes a while to build it back up. So I know lots of people who say, oh, I've got a Facebook group or a Facebook page, it had lots of engagement, then I didn't post for a month, and now kind of nobody sees my stuff. Basically, it's simply because the algorithms have just died, because they're not being kept up to date, and people are, you know, kind of switching off. So it's very difficult to switch people back on. So the technical side is you have to keep posting to make sure that, you know, all the numbers kind of stay where they should be, if you know what I mean. So you kind of stay consistent at the top. In terms of the promotional side, one of the things with everything that's going on now is we don't know when it's going to end, but it's got to end at some point, right? So as in the crisis has got to end and we're all going to be fine, rather than the world's ending. Right? Everything's going to be fine. We're going to be alive. That's the main thing. So if we keep posting now, we're going to be, if we keep using social media, if we keep using digital marketing, and lots of other people will talk about social media and branding and digital marketing and websites and all the rest of it. If we keep going right now, then we're going to be best placed to hit the ground running on the other side. I used an analogy last week in the group, and also on LinkedIn, in that it's like a Formula One race, and we're currently in a pit stop. So we have to make sure that we get the right tires and the right fuel, and our visors are going to be clean. And as soon as that green light goes, comes on, we have to hit the ground running. We have to go. And if we're not, we're going to be at the back of the pack behind everybody else. So make sure that you keep marketing, make sure that people keep seeing what you're posting. And this is something I've heard that post adverts copy with the word coronavirus has a negative effect. Yes, it does. Facebook and Twitter, actually, no, all the social media channels are now very hot on anything that relates to COVID-19, coronavirus, the C virus, you know, and all that kind of stuff. There's no getting away from it. You have to talk about it. You have to post of it. posts are one thing, but if you're going to be spending money on adverts, if you can do Facebook ads or Instagram ads or LinkedIn ads or anything like that, even boosting posts, try not to use the C word or the C virus or, coronavirus and all that kind of stuff. Because Facebook or, all the social media channels are really hot on that. So try and, apart from anything, try and be positive. Try and talk about kind of what's good in your life and what's good in your business, etc., without obviously coming across as being insensitive. But yeah, make sure that we keep posting and we keep marketing and we keep pushing our businesses, even if it's to engage with our potential clients, our current clients, our future clients, etc. Because the key word in social media is social.
Okay, thank you so much, Gus. So the message there then is to keep out there so that basically I hadn't even realised that the algorithms would notice that we weren't posting. So that's really good advice, Gus. Thank you. Thank you so much. Frissa, can we go to you? No, you're on mute. There we go.
It's myself. There we go. Yes, hello.
So, Frissa, what we wanted to ask you is what sort of things we can do on social media or to prepare ourselves, for when this is over and we get back to some sort of normality. I know one thing that, you've told me to do and I'm really excited about. I'm so excited about. I've now got a bot. What is it? A chat bot. I'm so excited. Yeah. So excited. So it's that sort of thing, isn't there? There's so many things that we can do to get ready.
Yeah. So that actually is nicely into the first thing I wanted to say. So the first bit is what you want to do is as soon as you are back up and running as usual, you need to be able to let everyone know and as many people as possible. Obviously, you're going to be posting on your social media, but not everyone will necessarily see that because not everyone sees all your posts. So you want to spend this time basically making sure you've got other ways to contact people. So that could be collecting email addresses of people. So you could put a post up, or put a page up on your website, speak to one of the website guys about a landing page there where it just collects people's email addresses to say we'll be the first in touch. Or you could give away a freebie or something like that, to get people's contact details so that when you are up and running again, you can send them an email and they'll definitely, get that in their inbox. Another thing is chatbots. So we have been setting up, Gemma and Amanda, with a Find a Biz chatbot.
I love it.
Which is going to be used to notify everyone, give them meeting reminders and things like that. So that is another thing you could do. So that is a Facebook Messenger bot, so that basically you can automate messages from your Facebook page to people who have opted in and subscribed to that. Now there are some rules and things like that around it, but I won't go into the kind of nitty-gritty of it. But if you get people to subscribe to say, I'm opting in to find out when you're open again, then you can send them a message and communicate with them when you're open again. So that's the first thing. The second thing is spend this time, obviously Gus has spoken about the importance of continuing to post on your social media channels, so hopefully everyone's still doing that, but you want to plan what different types of content you're going to do and post as soon as you get back. So maybe have a think about just kind of sketch out like, okay, if I've got a shop, when I go back in, I'm going to create this type of content. I'm going to do a little live video of us opening the doors for the first time. What do you need to get in place for that? So you can make a massive big fuss around it. You can make it a big event on your social media, and maybe think about as well contacting some of your most loyal customers and kind of prepping them to come in, post about you when you're open again. Use that user-generated content of other people creating content for you to create that buzz around it. So yeah, have a think and a plan. Obviously, keep posting in the time being, but there is different types of content we're going to be able to freshen things up with once it is all back to normal. So yeah, have a think about what type of thing you're going to be doing when you are open again, and make a big boom of it. Don't think I've opened, oh crap, I haven't done an Instagram post today, or no one knows we're open again, I'll just quickly put up a quick text post. Really make a big deal out of it.
Thank you so much. That's just amazing advice. Thank you so much. Right, who would like to go next? Possibly Kelly, shall we come to you next, because I know you might have to shoot off.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So now if we move on, because Kelly is websites, and Kelly, I know you're quite a specialist in SEO for websites. And so I wanted to ask you if there's anything that we could be doing at the moment to help our websites be found. You know, things that we don't have time to do when we're busy doing our day-to-day. If we've got some time now, is there something we could be doing to help the SEO of our websites?
So I come from a performance SEO point of view. So my specialism is in the structure of your website. And the one thing that people can do to help their website structurally, which will help your page load more quickly, which will get you higher in Google, is to look at all of the images on your website. Make sure that the image that you're actually displaying is the right size for the box. When you take a picture on your phone, it is huge. The file size is massive. And of course you can upload that to your website, and then the website readjusts the picture to be the size that you want it to be on the screen.
Yeah.
Now, by doing that, you're wasting time in the upload, because if every one of your pictures has to be resized smaller, then that takes time for the server to do that. So what you can do is go through your website, go through the images, and make sure that they are actually 200 by 300 pixels and not 3,000 by 4,000 pixels.
Gosh, really?
Yes. Really, yeah. Because if you imagine the time it takes to shrink every single image on your website, that's time it takes for your website to load. And what we want is the website to load as quickly as possible, because you want to get past all those Google barriers, because then you've got all of the other barriers to actually people parting with their money. You don't want people to be sitting there for more than 4 seconds waiting for your website to load, because they will just go somewhere else. And the biggest thing people do, the biggest mistake that you guys can rectify yourselves, are the images.
Right. Gosh, who knew? I take all the pictures on our phone and just pop them on there and expect it all to work.
So though you will need a image processor type program to do this on your computer, but Paint will do that on a Word, on a Windows computer, sorry. The program Paint will do that. Just open your image in Paint and you will see how big the image is. Like if you can only see a teeny corner of it, you know that it's massive, and you can resize and rescale that down. Now, it shouldn't change any of the look of your website, because you're aiming to get the image to be the exact size that it should be. So the images should appear to be the right size once you've scaled them back down.
I know this might be a stupid question, but how do I know, apart from asking Andy who built the website, how do I know what size I need for each part of the website? Yeah.
So to find out the size that your image actually is, if you hover over the image on your website and you right click on your mouse, you'll see a link that says open image in new tab. Open the image in the new tab and it will show you the size that the image that you have is. Now, if that looks massive compared to the size on your screen, then you know something needs to be done about that image. So that's the first step, so that you can tell whether that image actually needs altering or not. Right. Then, if you hover your mouse over the image on your computer and you press and you press inspect, it will then give you the dimensions on the screen of what that box size actually is.
Sorry, what's inspect? Where's it?
You left click on your mouse. So on your mouse, when you left click, there is several options. The ones you want are inspect, and if it's an image, you can then view that image in a new tab. Just as a side note for everyone, the inspect will work on any element on the website. So if you wanted to check the width or the height or anything of any other element, you can press the inspect and it will show you all of the different bits and pieces. Just as a side note, probably no one will ever use it, but I use it a lot and it's quite handy.
Can I just check there? With the image size, one of the things I would say is if you've got one of these huge banner images across the top of your web page, any image more than 200 kilobytes in size is too big, and you really should be using Photoshop to reduce the image quality. Anything more than 200, it's going to really sap your page loading time.
Okay, thank you, Graham.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
But if anyone needs any help, or if anyone wants me to put a little how-to guide together or something like that, because I know that just me telling you it's not quite the same as anyone showing you, just let me know, ping me an email, a message, and I'll pop that out. That's no problem.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Right, so shall we go? Because as we were talking about images there, I think it'd be quite good to go to Simon next. And basically that was, because Simon is a graphic designer.
I am.
And obviously it's the artwork that makes our businesses look professional.
Certainly is.
So how do we make our businesses stand out at the moment from all the other businesses that are online? What can we do?
Well, I think to start with, it's important, as Gus touched on earlier, is that we need to be planning for when we come out the other side of this. At the moment, anything print-based, I would probably hold, but also have an idea and a plan in place to produce it now. But obviously with things like flyers and stuff, you're not going to be able to distribute them now anyway. So most of the stuff is going to be digital. Now, design is basically all about being visible, like you mentioned there, Amanda, and standing out and differentiating yourself from everyone else. So your brand is super important, and now is the time to be working on it, looking at it, maybe revamping it if need be. I think that a few tips that I would give when looking at your brand is you need to be able to be happy with what's going on, but at the same time, you need to also be thinking about how it's going to be perceived by the end user and your customers. Because a lot of people do design and they're like, well, I like it, but you look at it and it's not going to convert. At the end of the day, it is very important that you're happy with your brand and you're very proud of your brand, but at the same time, it needs to be functional and also attract people, because that's what you want. You want to attract people's attention, whether that's on a website or whether that's on video or whatever you do. And obviously the consistency is another massive thing when it comes to brand. Whatever you do, whether it's on social, your site, any like PDF documents, as long as they need to know that it's you. It needs to be very strong, it needs to go across, make sure that you've got that consistency across everything. And yeah, I'm going to say I'm happy to give anyone any advice, or I'm in the process of pulling together a guide. Now I've got a bit more time on my hands on branding and the core foundations to build a solid brand. So once that's up, I will share it without at the sense of being plugging a little bit. I have actually set up my new group on Facebook now, which is going to be tips and guidance for people to things they can do while we're in this lockdown situation to still push their business forward. And I've done a top 10 video this morning of things you could be looking at that aren't print-based, that will raise your visibility and get your name still out there.
Okay, that's brilliant. So will you share that in our Facebook group so that everyone can...
I will. I'll put the link in.
And you can share it in the comments here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But as I say, if anyone's got any questions about anything to do with branding or the design in general of their brand, obviously completely no obligation. I just want to give advice and help out. And if you want me to just do like an audit of what you've got and what you could do, I'm happy to help.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
Problem.
Inzar, can we go to you now? Because I think there's a question that possibly that Phil has put in the group. He wanted to know if you've seen the impact on websites regarding traffic sort of increasing and decreasing during this time.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, Amanda and Gemma, thank you so much for holding this. I think it's really, really good. And, just hearing different views on the topic of marketing, which obviously is going to be really important for businesses moving forward, is really amazing. So for us to have this platform to do it in, I really thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
The thing about website, obviously, a lot of people have used websites for just for because everyone else has it, for vanity purposes. I call them vanity websites. Whereas now, I think the focus is really on getting the websites to what they should have always been, which is a tool to generate leads for your business, to increase the sustainability of it, to get out from the circles that you normally have, and to provide information about who you are and what you do. It's also an opportunity really to pat yourself on the back and say, look, this is what we've done in the past. So these are our clients, and this is this is how well we've done the work. So it's definitely an opportunity to do that on your website. So in that same node, I've actually seen a huge increase in the traffic that goes to websites since this, for a number of reasons, really. One, because we've got a little bit more time on our hands to be able to browse and to be able to look around. I feel that the community in the UK are very entrepreneurial, and we really we take every opportunity so every opportunity we get, we use that to the best of what that opportunity can be used for. So yes, the traffic has definitely increased. I also find that actually inquiries have increased for us as well, in terms of people who have had their website and haven't really used it, but also new people who actually want to explore the opportunity of going online. So I think, yeah, that's a long-winded way of answering the question, but we've definitely seen an increase in traffic. From the other side of things, I think just going back to the question that you originally were going to ask me about the strategy, I think strategy is imperative now more than ever. So not only to have a long-term strategy, but also to have a tactical strategy, which is how we are going to deal with what's upon us right now. So, and that's not a knee-jerk reaction, that is basically thinking it through and saying, okay, well, look, we are going to get out of this. There is going to be life outside of this, and how do we prepare for that now? And also, actually, to think that what is it that has always been pending? Maybe improvement of the copy on the website, reducing the size of the images on the website, or adding those extra pages. There's so many things that we put off that we never get around to. And I guess it's a time to do that right now, and just get your presence so well thought through and so well digitally articulated that it really creates a competitive advantage for you.
I think this is so true, isn't it? Having time to work on your business rather than in your business means that you can get these processes and procedures. Jacqueline, I know, is on here, and she was absolutely shocked when she realised that all the messages that I send to you all on the day of a meeting, I'm actually physically going into my Facebook and sending you a message. And Frissa said, no, you can have a bot and get that done, and then we're going to automate emails from now on. And suddenly everything's become the power of the technology, because we've had time to look at it, stop, breathe and look at it and decide how we can move forward and use technology to help us.
I mean, Amanda, just to sort of add to that, if you think back even a few weeks ago, who would have thought that we would be sitting here in front of our computers talking to an amazing group of people from a panelist and having attendees listen into this? We would have never thought that, but actually, it's always been there. We've always had the ability to do this, but we've just never availed that opportunity. And now that it's upon us, we're looking, and as I say, I think people are very, very resourceful and entrepreneurial. I think we've adapted and adopted these technologies very, very nicely. There's lots of things that I feel that we should still be looking at. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. So how we can automate our sales funnel process. How we can be a little bit more clearer on what our SEO strategy is. Kelly, I'm sure will agree that that now is the time to really think that through. What our brand values are. All of these things. I think it's a time where we really need to reflect on all of those things, and that, I guess, comes into the overall strategy of the business.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's brilliant. Graham, can I come to you now?
And indeed.
It's great to see you, Graham. So, Graham, the question is, with our websites, what would you say is the main thing that we could do now to get ourselves ready for when this is over?
Many of the businesses hopefully watching today, well, unfortunately, will have found themselves with time on their hands, and that time is a great time now to be using to get ourselves in the best possible position we can be in so that we can bounce back. There's three areas I tend to work on with my clients when I look at their websites. The first is making sure they get found by Google. Then it's about making sure that when somebody lands on the page that they get the right messaging straight away, and they get the feeling that they're in the right place to stay there and to invest their time into looking at the website. And then it's to make sure that the messages in the website are the right messages that ultimately that person will convert, whether that be picking up the phone and asking the person to come and do a service for them or to buy their goods. So the first one about optimizing for Google is to make sure that your website is got all the keywords in there to help Google to understand what your business is. So to make sure that keywords in your sector are in page titles. And that's what Kelly was talking about with imagery, is making sure that if you've got the ability to change the alt tags in your website image areas, is to make sure you've got keywords in your alt tags. And just to make sure everything on your page content is keyword rich, because that's really important in terms of helping Google understand your business and what you're about. And there's a whole load of other things as well with regard to page loading and stuff like that, which I won't go on to now. But certainly for any business owner, if you're using WordPress or something similar and you've got access to be able to edit your content, make sure you've got keyword rich content. Classic example I always quote is a plumber or a tradesman. They typically have a WordPress website and it will have a services page, and they'll call their services, which they understand what they mean, but far better would be to have plumbing services in Warwickshire or something like that, which would have certainly helped Google understand a lot more what your business is about. So then once someone has found your website on SEO, then it's about moving on to making sure when they land on your site that they believe what you're saying and your site looks credible. Now, as a web designer, I was going to say, make sure you've got a fresh website and it all looks tickety-boo. Websites are like clothes fashions. We don't wear the clothes we wore 5 years ago. And typically when a client comes to me asking for a new website, I look at their old website and straight away I can tell that it's 5 years old or it's 10 years old. I can almost guarantee I can work out what year the website was built just because of the style. And it's really important that we've got up-to-date and modern and fresh-looking websites, because if we look like we haven't done anything to our website for the last 10 years, when someone lands on your page, they're going to think, well, is this business really serious about what they're doing? So now would be a great time to invest in your website and making sure it's looking fresh and relevant for today, and obviously going forward when we get over the virus situation we're in. And then the third one, which I spoke about, which is about making sure your messaging is really on point. One of the things that we talk about is page optimization, making sure when somebody lands on your page, they really understand and believe what you say you do. And it's all about what we call value proposition. Now, the guys in front of me on the screen will know what a value proposition is. The classic question is, if I was your ideal customer, why should I buy from you and not from one of your competitors? So with the time that we've got on our hands and the spare capacity we've got in our day, now is the time to look at our competitors, not just locally, geographically to us now, but around the whole country, see what other businesses similar to ourselves are doing. What are they? What is the things that are working? What can we steal from them almost in terms of best practice? And just make sure everything we do about our website, whether it be the SEO, the look and the messages are spot on, so that when we do come out the other side of this, we're in the best possible space to be able to move forward. And I thought what Gus said with the F1 pit stop analogy was perfect. Yeah, we're having a pit stop. Let's make sure our cars are spot on and ready to race again.
Yeah, that's amazing, Graham. Thank you so much. We have had a question from Jeff. He says, everyone overlooks metadata. Why?
Metadata is the little bit of script, the text you put into a web page, which helps Google to understand what you do. And so many websites do this. They'll have the same bit of metadata on their homepage as all their other pages. So, for example, let's say you're a plumber and you do boiler servicing as well as traditional wet plumbing. So your boiler servicing page, your metadata, your meta description should be very much about boiler servicing, and your traditional plumbing and water type of servicing should have lots of keywords in your metadata and have that about the water in there. So it's just making sure that you're helping Google to understand about your business. And if you help Google, then Google's going to help you and put you up the search rankings.
And Jeff, I think the reason it's been overlooked is because in the past it's been abused terribly. and so it's not quite so highly weighted by Google anymore, because there have been so many black hat marketing techniques that have gone into the metadata that Google now are focusing their algorithms on titles, alt tags, and the actual content as well as the metadata. Would you agree that they're moving on past the metadata tags as just being the sole thing? I mean, back when I first started 10 years ago, you could put your metadata in and that was all you needed to do, but not quite the same these days. Really, like you said, focus on the keywords. If you don't know what an alt tag is, please ask one of us and find out, because they're really, really important. If you don't, well, they're the tag that goes with the picture. When you hover over a picture, when you see the wording, that's your alt tag. You want it to be full of your keywords. So
is that one of the main things for the SEO then? Does that work?
It really does, because other people overlook it as well. It's something that can boost you guys up the rankings, and it's just another way to tell Google what you're about. It's just another way that you can get words onto your website with your keywords in it that can just boost you as well. So while you're resizing your pictures, do your alt tags at the same time.
Right, okay, so Jeff's now said that he had a site built with hardly any views. He changed the metadata and views went up by 1,000%. So, anyone?
Yeah, I'm currently working with a client who had a website built, and he wasn't getting no work from his site at all. And I looked at it, and it was empty of all the key things like these alt tags and metadata. And I was appalled to find he was paying an SEO company somewhere in the world £290 a month for SEO. And I really suggested that he possibly take legal action, because I have no idea what they were doing. One of the things Kelly talked about with these unscrupulous people, and that's why Google has less relevance with metadata, is if you want any SEO help, please ask a local professional. The people that bombard your inbox promising to get you on page 1 of Google, don't believe it. They'll do dodgy things. Even Yell.com do dodgy things, and it's been proven that businesses have seen a decrease in traffic because they do. And the thing is with Google, Google's constantly looking out for bad practice, and if it has a whiff that you're doing things and not playing by the rules, you'll get blacklisted. So you might get a little increase in traffic for a week or so, and then you'll be on the naughty step for a very long time.
Okay.
So the best advice then really for sort of SEO would be to look at your alt tags and your metadata and your image size, but to actually do it relevant to your content. So make sure that it's relevant to your content, and then you've done a good job.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Phil's asked a question as well. Are there any do's and don'ts regarding graphic design and photos due to the current climate? Simon, did you want to take that one?
I wouldn't say from my perspective, there's anything different you could do at the moment. There are certainly rules that you can and can't do, and what you should be doing with images. One of the list of the rules that I have for anyone doing their own design, one of the points is clarity, and it's always good to be clear on what you're trying to get across. So with your images, make sure that they actually are relevant to what you're putting out, whether that's the actual specific offer or product, or if it's just like more of a generic photo. Ideally with your photos, ideally it'd be good to have your own photos, or have a professional photographer do them, but obviously at the minute it's difficult to get people, you're not going to get someone coming out to do that. Stock images are an option. A lot of people shy away from them, which I understand why, because obviously they're stock images, so anyone can use those photos, and it comes back to the whole being bespoke and being unique to you. But when you need to use it, there are ways we can edit the images, so the stock image is the base rather than, and then tweak it so it's more on brand with what you're trying to put out there. So I wouldn't say because of this situation there are do's and don'ts. I'd say there's some general rules, which there's lots, and I won't go into them now, but I'm happy to do something, maybe a live video or something at a later date in the FaB forum or group.
That's great. Thank you.
Can I just add to that as well? I guess also you have to be sensitive to what the sentiment is outside. If you're talking about something which is perhaps insensitive, because obviously a lot of people are going through a very difficult time. And if you're putting out graphics that are insensitive to that, I think that could have a negative impact on your overall brand strategy and perhaps the message that you're putting out there.
Yeah, I think people are mentioning in some of the graphics, about the virus, etc. And I think if you're going to put some imagery to do with that, I would use something very generic rather than, people with masks on being sick. You don't want to cause more panic. So I completely agree with that. If you're putting something out there, but yeah, as I say, there are ways around things, but it's quite a big area to go into. So.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just say that on what Simon said about using your own images and stuff, this is an ideal time as well if you're really bored in the house to take some more pictures as well. So the other day I just set up my I've got a little ring light. I'll see if I can pull it in without knocking myself out. But one of these, but you can just do it with any light. I've literally whacked my camera on there and spent half an hour just taking a load of pictures of myself looking a bit daft, but in front of that, like holding my phone up and stuff. And now I've got like a load of new images that I can use in my social media in the meantime, and on all my graphics, because I wouldn't have time normally to spend setting everything up and all of that, but because we have got a bit more time, managed to get some more done. So
it's good to have that catalogue of images especially for social media as well.
So another use of your downtime, and then maybe run them past Simon to see if they're all right.
It's fine. Send them over.
That'd be brilliant. Right. So Monica, can we come to you now?
Yes, you can. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Monica does.
I don't know why.
Oh, right. Okay. Monica does marketing strategies online and offline. So I know at the moment we're all concentrating online, aren't we?
Yeah.
But I just wondered if this is a time that we should be getting our whole marketing plans ready for when this is all finished.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think like what a lot of them have already mentioned, it's now's the right time to do it because everybody has got a little bit more time on their hands to really focus on what you want your future to look like. So your future, your business's future, and also then have a think about what your customers' future might look like. So depending on who your customers are, whether they're individual businesses or individual people, try to understand how mindsets might change now in the future. Will people be working from home more now that we've had the opportunity to actually do that, or will people just be a lot more inclined to be on social media and more digital and do more online shopping than going out to the shops? Or will it be that actually as soon as this is over, the first thing I want to do is get out there and want to go and visit the shop? So nobody knows. So in that essence, the doors are open for everybody. So if you are an online retailer or you are you've actually got a physical shop in out like in town, for example, it's the ideal opportunity to start thinking about what you're going to be doing for when everything smooths over, because there's going to be a bit of everything. People are going to get used to being at home, being more on the laptops and shopping at home, but there'll be a lot of people that will want to get back out there and they'll want to make sure that their high street and their businesses in town don't just, die off, basically. And it was already a struggling time for the high streets anyway. So I would say if you are those customers, that it's really important to think about your marketing plan and think about how you want to promote your products, promote your services to your end customers, and ways to do that is to develop a marketing plan. Work with social media guys, work with digital people, work with designers like Simon, for example, and just remember that marketing is all about promoting yourself, promoting your business, and promoting your products or services. And they're the three key things that you have to be promoting. So you'll want to get back out there and start networking again, but use this time to actually plan where you want your future to be in terms of marketing. And also, use the time to start doing some market research. Have a look at what your competitors have been doing around you. What are your prices like compared to your competitors' pricing? What do they produce that you may not produce? Or is there a gap in the market that you suddenly see, which can give you that competitive advantage? Because if you've got a competitive advantage, that's the key thing for you, to have one thing that's more, over and above what your customers have. And then, sorry, I had a few notes that I made. So really think of your marketing plan as a roadmap which will help you deliver your overall business plan, because everybody needs a marketing plan to be able to deliver that, in terms of being able to focus on market research, being able to focus on your promotion, the branding side of things. So, for example, we've got designers here. So again, if you need to refresh your brand or your artwork or your leaflets or your website, now's the time to do that. And then also make sure that you are selling at the right price. So really research your competitors, find out who they are, where they are, what they're doing, how much they're charging for similar services and products that you currently do yourself, and see how you sort of sit, even if you just draw yourself a little graph, about who your competitors are and where you all sit in a sort of spectrum, then you can see if your price is either too high or too low, or whether you are, in the right zone at the moment. And then also segmenting as well. So think about who you're actually selling to. Are you selling to young families? Are you selling to couples? Are you selling to individuals that are on high income jobs, individuals that don't have as much disposable income? So think about all the different types of segments that you have. And then when it comes to your marketing, you'll be able to actually advertise to them and promote to them the way that you need to promote it. And they will actually be able to see that, because you'll then focus placing your advertising and your marketing spend in the places where they actually go to as well. So where they shop. Do they go to the gyms? Do they go to shopping centres? Are they always online? So you can actually focus on where you actually want to spend your advertising budget as well. I always say it's very important to continue marketing and use the time to plan for the future.
Thank you. That's absolutely brilliant advice. Thank you. Thank you so much. Has anyone got any questions? No, nothing come up, anything yet. Okay, so now that leaves Andy. Andy, waiting patiently there. How are you? I can't hear you, Andy.
Yeah, great. I can't even click a button. Yeah, I'm fine.
Well done, Andy. Well done. Right. Okay. So, Andy, I think I had got website questions for you, but I think we've possibly sort of covered things. So, I think I just wondered if there was anything that we'd missed regarding our websites that you would like to comment on.
Yeah, you did sort of cover pretty much everything. The only thing I would say is maybe now's the time to look at functionality and see if your website does actually work for you. So, those little things which you've been putting off, like that blog which your web designer's told you that you really, really, really need to get around to writing, but after 2 years you still haven't started.
That's us.
Yeah.
Blogs! Do your blogs!
It's
the corona.
Again, if you make something and you haven't yet took that step to e-commerce, take a look at that, and generally treat all of us as the same sort of individual. Bring us all together, come up with a plan, rather than the social media is going this way and the website's going this way and the graphics going this way. Come up with a plan and come up with absolutely everything you need and execute it perfectly so that everyone is on the same wavelength. You've got Simon that's rebranded you, Kelly's redone all your SEO, you've got functionality, you've got custom built landing pages for one shop thing, and generally just try and bring everything in together.
Okay, thank you so much. Right, we have had another question. So Phil has asked, should we be looking to increase our spend on marketing at this time?
Hi, I can help with that. I was just about to respond actually when my daughter came in. I would say in terms of planning, I would say that you need, once you know what you want to do, then look to spend your money on those elements. So rather than going out there now and spending lots of money on advertising, for example, spend the money on maybe looking at if you need a new logo, a new website, or any of the new platform like that, and actually spend your money on things which will help your business in the long term, rather than just looking at short-term advertising type of items. So long-term future planning to spend your money on that will be worth it as well. So don't don't go out there now and plan a massive advertising campaign to go on sides of billboards when you don't know what the future is going to look like. But just do short steps to do long-term planning. That's where I'd say spend your money. So like things like looking at your website and stuff like that.
I would personally say, if that's all right, if we just jump in, that the key word I think most of us can agree on from this is to plan, and the planning is going to be massively important. One thing I always say when looking at graphics especially is target where your audience are. For example, roller banners, and if you're going to use it as a video background, I mean at the moment it might be a good idea because everyone's doing Zoom calls, but if you're not going to networking meetings and you're not going to have one, some people see these and they go, oh yeah, that's really good, I'll have one for my business. But if you don't need it, then don't put your money into it. Look where your audience are, so your social platforms. Websites are brilliant because obviously they're a general across the board, and social media is the same. But when it comes to your print marketing, especially when you're planning that coming out the other side, by doing the plan that Monica mentioned, you're going to look into who you're going to be targeting, where you're going to be targeting them. So therefore, that will allow you to realise where you need to put your money and your marketing spend.
Thank you. And we've had a question from... Oh, sorry.
Sorry, can I just also...
Just as we're talking about spending money, and what Monica talked about was looking at your competitors and seeing where you are in the market in terms of price. And I think it's worth stressing that we shouldn't all be looking now at a race to the bottom, and trying to win by undercutting and that kind of thing. What I would suggest we do is, if we all value what our price is for our product or service, and what I would stress to everybody is to make sure that your website communicates why maybe you're not the cheapest, but why you're the best, and why somebody should be using you.
Spot on.
Absolutely. I think that the other point I'd just like to add to that is not all marketing is going to generate you revenue. So I think that there has to be a split between what I call reputation management, which is just showing your clients that we're still around, and not necessarily putting any adverts or any marketing in order to generate sale, but just to make sure that you're still in the minds of your customers and your clients. And then, when the time is right, measure how, it'll be very difficult to measure what sort of return that gives you. But I guess it's just to remain in their minds. So having one strand of marketing, which is just for reputation, and then having another strand of marketing, which you can then measure to see if that gives you a good return on investment.
Yeah,
right.
Fantastic. Do you mind if I sorry, I know lots of people have answered all those questions, but actually just to answer Kyle's question, which also answers the question above, actually, in terms of free stuff and free marketing, you don't necessarily have to spend money. You don't have to do Facebook ads and all that kind of stuff, or like Monica said, billboards and whatnot. It's more about maintaining current levels, but there's lots of ways to do free marketing. So that could be engaging in Facebook groups, curating the right audience on LinkedIn, for example, using the right hashtags on Instagram. All that kind of stuff is free, and all that kind of stuff really gets the message out to an audience that you want to get it out to. There's so many free ways of marketing, like we've already discussed. You have the right SEO on your website. There are elements of that can be free. Write blogs, you can do them yourselves. Send out email marketing. We've all got a million business cards in our top drawer. We can just send them emails to keep in touch with people. There's 101 ways to make sure that we don't have to spend money during this difficult time. But the most important thing is to be social with current clients, potential clients, and future clients.
Yes. Thank you. So lots of answers there. So thank you, Gus. That's true, isn't it? And really, it has come a full circle, really. I think everything, it's gone a full circle from what Gus said right at the beginning, was that we just need to keep our businesses out there in view of everyone. Is that what, do you think that's what?
I think that's a good summary, that and planning. Yeah. But like I said, there are lots of free resources you can do out there, and it all goes around your brand. So things like PDF documents and ebooks, lead magnets, that was mentioned earlier, fantastic. Tip sheets, if you don't want to write a full ebook, just do a cheat sheet, which has got literally, because at the end of the day, you know your business best of all. So you've got the knowledge, just get it out there and let people know that you know what you're doing, and do that in a creative way. There's lots of things like blogging, anything that basically is content is fantastic.
Content is key. Keep the blogs going, keep the social media going. If you don't do anything else but write 5 blogs, that'll be the best 5 blogs, the best time that you spend. If you don't do anything but do 20 social media posts, just keep going. And I would say, why not write the rest of your list for what blogs, what social media you're going to do for the rest of the year. Get your plan in place so that you know what's coming, you can get it written down, and then away you go. Yeah. There's no more sitting there twiddling your thumbs, I don't know what I'm doing. You've got your plan. Like everyone said, go with the plan. Just keep going. Content's key. Get out there and keep going.
Yeah, fantastic. Great point. I just Jacqueline just wrote in the comments that, obviously as micro businesses, as small businesses, we still want people to spend money rather than do it themselves. Obviously, Jacqueline's a VA and she helps the businesses with social media. So do I, so does Fritha. And obviously we all want people to spend money. But I think the idea is that as well as people spending money, we also want to help them and be kind of to be seen as the authority. Because when people do have money, they'll come back to us. If they don't have money now and we say, sorry, if you don't have money, I don't want to help you. Unfortunately, that's not good for the long term. That's my opinion. Now, a couple of people have mentioned Canva. I love Canva. I think it's great. But I know that when I want decent graphics or, social media banners and all the rest of it, I call Simon. I'm on the phone to him like nearly every day, actually asking for stuff. And
I'll split that $5 to you after.
Yeah, thanks. But that's what it's about. There are lots of free resources. You can manage social media yourself. You can manage your SEO yourself if you really wanted to. You can manage your own graphics via Canva. But to be perfectly honest, most of it is a real headache, and it's better to ask the experts. So yes, there's lots of things that you can do for free. Yeah, you can have a go. Yeah, there's lots of things.
Eventually, they'll come back to the experts when they've not got time anymore because they're so busy because they did all this marketing.
Yeah,
now
exactly.
Now they're trying to get sales.
Yeah.
I think it's important because people do realise, and there's some experts out there, and I'm not just talking about design generally, who, that if they don't understand the small business kind of thing, it's tough times, and especially at the moment, budgets are low. So personally, I'm not going to say, well, you shouldn't be doing it yourself. You should definitely come to me. There are ways you can do things yourself, and I'm happy to advise you with those. Things like Canva. Canva's a fantastic resource. It's going to take you to a certain level, but the best thing I say about content is it's better to have something than nothing. So even if you do it yourself, I know it's something that Jacqueline wrote about the writing, and she said not everyone can write. Well, that I get what she means completely, and a professional copywriter probably would be the way forward eventually, but getting something out there written by yourself who has got the knowledge is got to be better than having nothing out there whatsoever.
Yeah, I'd say the same. And if you think about how sort of blogging all started, it was just literally just people writing down what they're thinking and feeling as they're actually talking to themselves, rather than having something written out for them and grammatically correct. And that's how blogging all just started. It's just getting everything down on your computer, and when people read blogs, and then there's been blogs that are made into books, etc., they're still in that same sort of tone. So you don't have to be the perfect writer to get started.
I always say to people, have lots of different styles. You don't have to stick to one style. You can have a conversational blog, then you can have something that is much more structured and is much more factual. But and I always have found that my conversational blogs have done much better than anything kind of factual, because yes, they're full of keywords, but people, unless they're very interested or need that information, aren't likely to read to the end. So the ones that are more informal definitely get more engagement, and you can capitalize on that.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I would add to that there's an age-old saying that people don't buy from websites, people buy from people. And so sometimes being a little bit more informal and just be yourself, be you, can have better dividends than having a professional corporate style blog.
Thank you. And there's a question there from Phil for Graham. Can you see that one, Graham?
I can't see any questions there, no.
It says, hi Graham, not cutting your prices at the moment. Surely we are currently in survival mode. And then when everything's sorted and planned, we'll go to step 2, which is thriving and planning for the future.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I guess it all depends what your business is really. I mean, if someone wants to buy a bottle of pop and you're charging £1, but the shop next door selling it for 50p, then obviously you've got to do something. But in terms of the professional services and things like that, I think we've got to be strong, and you can't once you've come down, it's very hard to come back and climb back to where you think you should be.
You don't want to be a busy fool. You spend less time working doing something for the price you're doing now than cutting it in half and having to do 2, and then you'll end up resenting what you're doing. We've all got into that trap. So I think you're right. We need to at least value our prices and stick as much as we can to where we are. I mean, obviously, there are other ways that we can offer advantages to people, though. If possibly you could split the payments up in some way, or they don't have to pay you straight away. There might be something you can do to entice people in still, but not having to pay the lump sum straight up front. I know I've done that for a couple of people, which has really helped right now for some people. There are some ways we can always be imaginative with pricing.
That's something I've done. I've had several people that have come to me and they've coughed at my prices when I don't think I'm expensive. So, and I've always said to my clients, everybody pays exactly the same. There's no mates rates or anything like that. So what I've done is what Kelly suggests is say, okay, well, pay me over a 6-month period. Divide it up by 6 and pay me over a period.
Yeah. What I would say is, sorry, Kelly, to jump in. What I would know is that in terms of Graham's prices, he's actually very cost effective. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, it all depends on the market. There's still lots of money out there. Just different people have the money now. So the people who essentially have all the bog roll, they have all the money as well. For example, I've had a client that came to me that basically he came to me a little while ago. He wanted some help with social media. He does high-end kind of fruit and veg for high-end restaurants based within the M25, within London, etc. Obviously, all the restaurants are closed, so his business almost died to death. He then switched it around because he can still supply, and now he puts together fruit and veg boxes for the domestic market. At the moment, 7 days a week, he's making over £3,000 a day. And he's come to me to help him with his social media. He wanted an e-commerce website because he was fielding approximately 200 calls a day and basically giving 200 people his bank account details and so on and so forth. So we kind of obviously streamlined the process through a website and whatnot. But the point is that there is money out there. There's people to have money. You can certainly discount, or like as Kelly said, you help the people that need the help, but there's people out there with the money, basically.
Yeah, if you think about it, hopefully we're all going to get 80% of our wages. So, and we can't go out and spend it. So hopefully, there will still be money circulating. And if we can show that we are flexible now to our customers, then that will stand us in good stead in the future. Because I know from my point of view, if I build a website for someone, it's because they want to make money. And if they can make money, then they can afford to pay me. So it's, it's all a big circle that, we just want to help everyone keep going so that we can keep pushing everything round.
Definitely. And I think the thing is, we're not going political on here, but obviously the money has got to keep moving for the economy to keep going. So people still need to buy services, and therefore, but you've got to look as a service provider, you've got to show it. I believe what Graham said, you can't undervalue yourself. You've got to have value, know your value, and you're helping people. So by offering your services, you're helping them to grow, to make more money, to push themselves forward, and they just need to see that opportunity.
Yeah. I think I must just say that the person who asked the question is actually a trade. So it's slightly different to a
Yeah,
service,
absolutely.
isn't it? Because at the moment, their trades, depending whether they can't get into commercial homes, and they're really, their whole business is on a different, I'm not quite sure because I haven't spoken to Phil myself, but I have spoken to Jeff, who has a similar business, and they've really had to just furlough their staff and just wait till ride this out. And so I think it's quite a good question for someone like that who's had to do all of those things about whether they actually spend now on marketing or what they do. So I just wanted to let the panelists know that that's where that.
No, I agree, and my heart does go out to people in that situation, because it must be extremely difficult, and hopefully the government are helping enough. But then where we have touched on, you can do some bits yourself, and there are resources out there, and I, for one, I'm happy to point you in the right direction for anything design based. If you need anything, images, things like that are completely free. I'm sure I could speak to the rest of the panel, happy to give some advice, point in the right direction. If that's what you have to do, you have to do what you have to do. And like I said before, it's better to have something than nothing, and get that plan in place.
Yeah.
As well. So another thing, so not necessarily for the trades, but for anyone who's thinking, so I've been feeling like, okay, I'm giving away like information, stuff like that. We've all said we'll help people, but also, I'm not going to cut my prices for my one-to-one work, because like we said, it doesn't do anyone any favors in the long run. We have to keep the money moving around. But what I am doing is I'm going to launch a new product, which is going to be, I've been umming and ahhing about doing a monthly membership for ages, and thinking actually now's the right time, because if I can offer something that is lower priced, people can afford it, it's still going to help people, it's something that still benefits me and my business, it's worth my time because I can get multiple people in it. But rather than say, you've got to pay me hundreds of pounds a month to work with me, you can pay £30 a month and still get that help there. So maybe people could think about, if you want to do something that is helping people, but you can't give away all your time for free, you do have to make money. Think about, I'm sure there's a lot of us in FaB who could maybe chunk out something smaller, lower priced offer you can create for people that is still going to be helpful for people but is more affordable. It's just adding that new price bracket to your business, and that's going to help people, because people are going to be able to afford that, fingers crossed.
So by helping them at this stage, like Gus said earlier, when they do get back on their feet and they do get more to a situation where they're flourishing, they're going to remember that by you, so they're probably going to come to you to purchase maybe higher packages or something, or they're going to recommend you to other people, and that's the beauty of networking.
Yeah, that's it. I think that is an absolutely amazing place to end it on. So, is everyone happy? Has anyone got any more questions? Everybody happy? To our panelists, thank you so much. To our attendees, thank you so much. And just sending love to you all, and stay safe, well and healthy, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, bye.